This house was projected in 1942, and it was concluded in 1945, war years. That has to be taken into account. It's very important because during that time, very little was constructed. Very little was. In addition to that, at that time, modern architecture wasn't very popular. There were very few modern architects working in São Paulo with their own clientele.
In fact, there are several kinds of manners. There's the type that's very luxurious, kind of inspired, as it were, by the Parisian hôtels particuliers, which are more urban, intended for families that were more active in the social circuits. Then there is the kind which is semi-rural, where there was a greater distinction between one's private life from the lives of one's help, one in which there was a specific time for everything. The important thing in those houses was the insertion of the house as if it were in the middle of the gardens. All those kinds of houses were renowned in São Paulo.
Especially this couple. This couple was emblematic because it was the daughter of an immigrant marrying into a 400-year-old family. It was the first alliance forged between a fortune generated by industry and big agriculture and a fortune or the renown of a traditional family. So, when they decided they were going to construct this house, they really had to think things out. What kind of house would it be? It has to be a sunny manor, big. Although we might not have children, it has to be a patriarchal house.
Look, that house was magnificent. It had very well-educated help. Because my aunt, our aunt, was very demanding and very sociable. The couple received many visitors from abroad and from Brazil. I was always a very disciplined person. That's why they welcomed me, because it was a kind of museum. You couldn't touch anything, break anything. But they would allow me to have guests over on the weekends, but only in the garden, not inside the house, in the garden.
Perhaps there was a political choice being made. A choice was made between a school of architecture and a school of neo-Renaissance, the style of the wealthy Italian villas. These great, beautiful Italian villas. This school of architecture was common in Europe. Not only in the 18th and 19th century in Italy, Paris has many of its kind along its streets. High walls, and behind the walls a patio, behind the patio, the house. That great patio out in front was the distributor, in a manner of speaking, clearly situating the main house, the upscale part in the back, the residential house. The main house would be on the left, and to the right there would be a large arch one would pass through. That would be the services area.
That was the area with the kitchen and where the restaurant stands today. And here were the maids' quarters. Further on, the butlers, the cook's help, Of course, the butler was Italian.
No, wait a moment. He was Greek. Dimitri was Greek.
Nobody despises comfort, so of course there was no hay-filled sofa here for him to spend the afternoon. There were sofas, perhaps a leather Chesterfield and such, and antique furniture, so people would say he came from the family that used to have such things. He was very much taken with Bresciaresi. That has a picture of his wife, which is very beautiful.
Fabio Prado was, in fact, an extremely important mayor. Fabio Prado was the mayor of São Paulo at the beginning of Getúlio Vargas' administration. That was from 34 to 37, when Armando de Salias Oliveira was the governor of the state. He was very much involved with City Hall's finances, and the urban planning of the city was in full swing. He based himself on the Prestes Maia plan for avenues, dating back to 1929. So what did he do? He jump-started these avenues, Rebouças Avenue and 9 de Julho Avenue. He also created what was perhaps his most important creation, the Department of Culture, and invited Mario de Andrade to head the department. It was during his administration that the municipal library was created, and not just created, but also began its construction. So when you think about where he chose to construct his house, you do well to keep in mind the vocation he gave to the city, making it grow towards the southwest. The Jockey Club itself, to which he was attached and which precedes the construction of this house, already lay in that same direction.
Constructed in 1942, we already had modern architecture, great floor plans for residences, important buildings like the Rhino Levi House and the Warchovchik House. But I would say that it is a cultural persistence and an interesting tradition that both the Brazilian and European bourgeoisie identified with this kind of house, which was based on the homes of the aristocracy in period, historic, or regional styles, each particular to its own respective country.
The manner in which this house was constructed, which is one of its kind in São Paulo, and the only one which has this particular style and such. I personally saw people walking past. One woman walked past and made the sign of the cross, thinking that it was a church. I saw this twice. In the finishing, there is no ostentation like the Matarazzos and their kind on Paulista Avenue had, bringing in lathed marble banisters from Italy. That one there is cement, painted over with whitewash. There was no sophistication in the finishing. Brick, whitewash, and sand. Nothing special about it. What is special is the school of architecture, the message.